1 2 1 2. Welcome back. Welcome back, folks. Hang on, I'm trying something. Oh, why don't we do it this way so you guys can see what the fuck this is? Let me check the audio. Trying up a new setup. As you guys can see, you can see more of me here in the lab, in the studio. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We have the full spoilers, the full summary spoilers for One Piece chapter 1165. We got a lot, but we didn't get a lot in the brief spoilers. And then in the full spoilers, we got yesterday. I was at work by myself. It was a shit ass night. Whole bunch of shit. I did not get to do this stream, but I was geeked up so much. I have theories, but I just really, I think this chapter speaks to the characters. Every single character in the series, let alone God Valley. Inherited will, passed down will, it's all kinds of shit. So, that being said, I am here, Elijah 5000, right here for you at Edge 2 Gaming. One place where is the camera blurry? The camera looks a little bit blurry before we get started. But this is the place we want to be for One Piece content. And while I'm going to fix the camera, go to the socials, follow the social media so that way you can get streams like this, which are One Piece based manga content weekly, which are the brief spoilers, full spoilers, live reads, and then also get information for my other podcasts and things I do, like the Pod OKC. It's a brand new podcast here in OKC. This will be my 7th or 8th Oklahoma City podcast. Me and the gang getting together talking anime, video games, and now we got to bring manga into it because the shit that's coming out right now, every manga that I have told Buck about, everything that I have been like, yo, bro, Richard, you need to go ahead and read this shit. They have become, or they are getting animation from top tier studios. So I'm excited to actually have segments devoted to that because I can read a manga in their one shot, or maybe it's typically within the first 2 chapters, never 3, and then be like, hey, we're getting like Kaiju number 8, knew we were getting animation for. I think the manga's better. Black Torch is only 19 chapters. They're doing an anime about that. Let me go ahead and take the socials off the screen. Let's see, what else? Dr. Stone, because I love Sunken Rock. There's just a lot of stuff. Togen Angi, didn't read. Gachikuta didn't read, but you could tell instantly from those shows. So make sure to join the channel for that shit. And the pod, because I will be having breakdowns on what manga that are coming out that are going to be animated. Like, I've been in the game long enough to let you know which ones are coming and let you know what you start reading, because a lot of context is typically being lost in the transition. I think with anime making that big hit on all the pirating sites, Japan actually winning that lawsuit, I think there's going to be a shift in production, in one for one or purity of content. I think a lot of creators didn't want to put as much work into animation knowing it was going to be pirated and they're not going to get money back. So let's feed into the anime community. But I will say Crunchyroll's up on that bullshit, so I understand. I'm right there with you. Okay, fuck that. We done with that. Shout out to the sponsors. Sponsors as always. Up in the corner over here, we have Emmy Eats Ramen, which Emmy Eats Ramen is the best place you can go for the world's first plant-based, high-protein, low-carb, low-sodium ramen. IMMIEATS.com. Edge2G, get you $5 off your purchase. And then if you like Nintendo Switches, switcheries.com. You go and use promo code EDGE10 to get 10% off your purchase at checkout. All right, here are these full spoilers. I've called some things, so now that we have a little bit more clarity, let's just go ahead and get into them. Okay, so let's see the chapter 1166, full spoilers. This is titled New Stories, and again, this comes via Puppies, via Redon from Arlong Park on Twitter and Instagram. Special reader request for a color spread. And I saw this. It looks fucking cute. Hang on. Let's turn the Pokemon down in the background. It's like appears on my headsets right now. So Yamato and Otama having roasted sweet potatoes with foxes and tanukis after gathering fallen leaves. And then we have Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, and Chopper are eating roasted sweet potatoes in a forest with Yamato, Otami, and Shinobu, and some ninja foxes. Tanuki. Now I saw this. This is probably like the last picture that they just posted, and it's a double spread. If you're reading it, Yamato has a roasted fish in chopsticks over here in her left hand, and has a yam in her mouth, and she's already eaten it. And on the left side of the spread is Yamato. Shinobu's right behind her underneath her left elbow. Then Otama's right underneath Shinobu. Sanji is standing in front of Otama, smiling at her as she's giving him food. Maybe they're exchanging food. Zoro's like eating a hot sweet potato. It's burning his mouth and his hands. Usopp and Chopper are sitting on a hill with the Tanuki in the back. And on the right side, you have Luffy's hands burning as he's throwing up his fucking sweet potato. Nami's in the forefront eating a little sweet potato, smiling. We have a Tanuki by Luffy laughing, and then, or a fox, and then a Tanuki above Nami's head. So it's a cute little double spread. It's a nice picture. I think we have two double spreads, colored double spreads this chapter. Maybe, maybe not. I may be just fucking imagining things. But we dive back into it after this reader request, and the chapter starts with rocks laying on the ground. Garp and Roger are already left the battlefield. Despite Roger and Garp's attacks, Rocks was still alive, and he was talking to himself. Now, I will say this is kind of inaccurate. The picture that I saw, you see Xebec on the ground, and he's like still out of it, kind of waking up. But Garp, I don't know if it's a Garp or Roger, which is on his head. Xebec's on his back. Roger is leaning up against some debris with Ace, the sword, stuck in the ground, and Garp is laying face down on the ground. And then Xebec is on his back, just looking, and he's talking to Roger and Xebec. And so let's go into what he said to them. He's sitting there, and he's Rock says, didn't work, huh? Roger, Garp, run. You guys are not to die here. So those were the last words he said to them. And then when they say that Roger and Garp were no longer there, we see Scopper, Gabon, and Silver's Rayleigh come and pick up Roger and Garp and run away and take them back to the ship. Suddenly, Garling, Summers, and Maffey approached Rocks. Garling raised his sword and stabbed it into Rocks' body. These were Rocks' last words. Now, this was fucked up, because we see Rocks laying on, let me get to the picture, laying on the ground, and then there's off in the distance, we have three silhouettes, and you can see fucking Garling's hair, but you see these silhouettes, and he's just like in a daze, trying to hold on to his mental capacity while he's still in demon form and regenerating. And then you see them all walk up, because we get we see them walk up. You see a shadow, a silhouette of Summers looking down like this with his goatee cut in, and then it zooms into his face, and Summers just standing there looking at him. Then we see Garling and Maffey come up, and it gives us three. Maffey's like licking her fucking teeth and lip, and Garland's just sitting there looking. Summers looks kind of sad. Then the next thing you see, Xebec is on the ground. He's getting ready to say his final words as Garling has his sword up, getting ready to strike down right into his chest. These are Xebec's last words. Oh, almost forgot. Thank you guys for stopping me. So he noticed that Roger and Garp were down, that it didn't work, which we were like, if they killed him, does that mean just Supreme Conquers Hockey and Mass will kill one of these Domi Reverse's characters? No, it won't. He still has regen ability, because we're taking the character strength doubled with Emu's strength and then regen. So as we see this, then we can see characters like Newgate, Lin, Kaido, and Shiki in a montage closing God Valley incident. So after you see that picture of Garland with his sword getting ready to pierce down in Xebec and kill him, then we take a trip around the world as the news spreads. So the news continues to spread, and then we see God Valley just start sinking. We don't see laser beams destroying the island or anything like that. It just starts sinking out of nowhere. I think we'll get some context of this because apparently when Demon Xebec attacked Newgate, either Newgate flew or he was striking and his strike knocked down the left mountain on God Valley. And then when Garp and Roger were fighting Xebec, they knocked down the other one. So now God Valley is flat. Maybe some of these strikes and impacts by these extreme hockey users have pierced the island, and now it's sinking because it doesn't really make sense for it to sink out of nowhere. Roger returned to the Oro Jackson. After they treat his wounds, he heard a strange noise coming from a treasure chest. They opened it and find Baby Shanks smiling. The page is exactly the same as we saw it in Film Red. And there's also, get my alarm. Damn. Okay, there's also something else just a little bit different with this picture. When we go to the Oro Jackson, we do see Roger and Garp bandaged up just laying. Once Roger wakes up, he's sitting there talking to the crew. And it's a cool double spread because both Garp looks like Luffy knocked out. Roger's got his head turned to the side, passed out. Then, as Roger wakes up, he has his shirt over his shoulders. And he hears something, and the crew looks at the treasure chest. He goes to it. They open it up, and everybody's leaning over it, just like in the movie. And you see Baby Shanks, just like Uta, smiling at them. Oh, dude. It's a good. These Oda did his job this time. Like every week that we've been reading, especially here in God Valley, has been amazing. But these shots, if you want to see some of these early raw scans that aren't shaded all the way in, that don't have the actual text in there, go to the Discord, and they're in the brief spoiler section for One Piece manga coverage. We continue. And the news of the Rocks Pirates disbandment spread around the world, and Harald stopped a giant who was plundering on Human Town, and he punched him several times. So once Harald hears this, he starts to cry. He's very sad, and Rocks is kind of cast a shadow in his mind when Kaido remembered all the people that hit hard enough that he respected. Same thing, Harold's crying. He is very sad, and he's just beating the shit out of this giant because he's attacking human. That scares the humans there. And Harald felt guilty that his effort for peace resulted in him not helping David Xebec. So he will not forgive any giant who stands in the way of his goal because his principles, his morals were, I'm not going to help you, Xebec, because I want giants to be accepted into the world. And at this point, he's like, any giant doing any bad, I'm fucking them up. I am king of the giants. We will be included into the world because my best friend, Davy D. Xebec, the only person that we know besides Eris and Teach know he's Davy D. Xebec, is now gone. And I will say Emu. Emu knows, but we see Loki's reaction. And then Loki wanted to join the Rocks Pirates because he thought Rocks was the god Nika. However, Rocks told him that he wasn't a god who wanted to destroy the world. He was a pirate aiming to conquer the world in order to change it. And we see this several times. Luffy changes the world every time that he goes and liberates a kingdom. We see that... efforts made by Blackbeard's pirates are changing and shaping the world. Efforts made by the revolutionaries and Sabo are changing the world because people are talking about Sabo. But the interesting thing is, everything that Luffy's done right now, not everybody in the world knows about. Everything that Rocks and Roger and Garp did, the whole fucking world knew about. So Luffy has some big pants to fill. Yes, he'll get there. Yes, the rest of the crew will get there. Predictions for Elbaph. Sanji's getting to glow up. Chop, we'll talk about it later, but when we think about changing the world, Luffy wants to help his friends, and then he gave Kaido a statement about what kind of world he wanted to shape where all his friends could eat. Xebec might have said some crazy shit like that. And then we saw that when Yamato heard what Luffy said and from Ace, and then read what was in the book, in Odin's book, like we see these pivotal moments where the dialogue, the analog that the character is using to drive their message really impacts the story. And we see it in the past, we see it in the present, and we see it going towards the future. We are halfway through these full spoilers. Let's continue. Let's get in it. I am just excited. I feel like Loki is going to take up more so than Blackbeard, Xebec's dream, to be the king of the world and promote change. I think he I think somewhere deep down he believes in his dad because his dad came back when he didn't think he would, and that had a subtle shift in Loki's demeanor. But the way that everybody else on Elbaph treated him, I think those are the means. Like, I want everybody to be accepted because I wasn't. Cut to the underground detention center. In a Marine headquarters, Dragon was locked up in a cell, and Garp went to see him. After a brief conversation, Garp threw him the key, and you see Dragon just locked up, just like Ace, just like Jinbei, just like Crocodile, Dofi, and Garp is talking to him, and Garp's face, he's just like, eyes are closed, and Dragon's like, I fucking despise you. He's like, yeah. Like, he knows, he didn't know about this shit. But one thing that's interesting, they don't say in the summary spoilers, is once Garp wakes up, Sengoku's there. He starts yelling at Sengoku, and then him and Sengoku start fighting like Sanji and Zoro. And then Sengoku has a knot on his head, he's bleeding. Garp really doesn't stand by him, whatever the world government is. And maybe Sengoku's fighting him because he's like, I'm freeing my son, and I'll take the responsibility because I didn't know about this, and I should have. But he doesn't dispute anything. He takes full accountability, throws the key to Dragon in the cell, and then I think leaves. He takes on the hate of his son because he was wrong about his ideas and principles. And I think this even shaped my justice, which is Garp's justice, even more. And this shaped Dragon. And people are like, Dragon's not doing anything, this and that. He's still alive, and this motherfucker's got a high-ass bounty, so I think some shit's coming. So, and it continues to break down the conversation. Basically what I said, Dragon says, Pops, I'm quitting from the Navy. And Garp says, yeah. And then Dragon says, I despise you. And then Garp says, yeah. And it's just a very sombering panel because it's like Garp could go in and tell him more. But we will get the official translation on Sunday. Sometime later, we see Harald ready to set sail on Elbaph's coast. He says goodbye to his family and friends. Harald goes, I have made up my mind, Ida. Master Draw. I will now devote everything I have for it. Hiruden, Loki, and this is the scene that we saw where he's kneeling down with his arms open looking at him. He says, you are both my sons and I love you. I want you two to work together. Harald became more resolved to bring Elbaph into the world community, but because he attacked that giant, the news spread that he was a very violent giant. That's why Harald decided to go to Marineford to talk directly with the Marines and the world government. Harald says, high officials of the Navy and world government, I ask that you spare my words some attention. Then in an epic final double page of the chapter, and this is crazy, I thought it was going to be even more gruesome, Harald pulled out his horns, and it looks like Zoro getting ready to strike. He's just like, let's see, right here, he's like, he doesn't do the face, but he just pulls them out while he's continuing to make his fucking speech to the government. After that, Harald knelt down and offered his broken horns to the Marines and the world government with his face covered in blood. Harald goes, let me atone for what happened during the last 1,000 years. I wish to apologize for all the mistakes the giants have made. I wish to prove to you all that my oath for peace is sincere. So that the children of Elbaph can live without having to hurt anyone. So that they can live hand in hand with your children. Give me a chance to make up for our sins. I would become a slave if it is for that cause. In the last panel, and this is fucking crazy, as soon as he says that, you see Harald on the right side of the page and Emu on the left side of the page, and all we see is Emu's eyes, and the chapter ends. There's no break next week. So here's the full summary spoilers for this chapter. I think that declaration right, Harald, opened the gates to a contract for Domi Reversi. Hear me out. The people that we've seen Domi Reversi's Elbaph. On Elbaph, we've seen the giants be Domi Reversi. We also saw the soldiers when Loki and Geralt walked into the chamber being stabbing Harald. I think his conviction to be a part of the world government and saying that made him more susceptible to Emu's control, because Xebec said you could not control me, and the whole time he fought, he was using the voice of all things to talk to Roger and Garp past Domi Reversi. Harald, we haven't seen that yet. Dorian Brogy, it has flipped 180 and just brought out even more, of the side that they have repressed and tried to change. Even though they are great warriors, they have tried to culture themselves and be assimilated into this world and the last wishes of King Harald. So with this statement, he's opened himself to Domi Reversi. The next people that we see Domi Reversi have to damn, I got 2 alarms on, have to either be Domi reversing anywhere in the world or specifically on their islands. And if so, there's going to be a backstory with that island that leads into everything that happened in God Valley and afterwards, is what I'm thinking. Harald shouldn't have did that, but I understand. He was heartbroken about his only friend. Really, Xebec's only friend that we know of. And Xebec saying he didn't want to be a god. He wanted to be the ruler of the world so he could change it. I want to know what he wanted to change. Is it because Davy clan had to hide out in La Lucia for all those years and they couldn't be with the world government? Did he know about all the manhunts, the rabbit hunts, the executions? And then I also want to see what Goku or what Garp and Sengoku are talking about, and more of what shaped Garp and where he's going now. Because if we know where Garp is after today, because he didn't know about this shit and he yelled at Sengoku over the fucking Din Din Mushi about it, there's got to be a drastic change in the way that he performs and his freedom within the government. Because if you think about Garp, Dragon, and Luffy, all of them want freedom and whatever their respect is. Dragon's really the only revolutionary there is, the revolutionary. Garp is within a military system. Luffy's within an outcast system of pirates. But they all want to be free and do what the fuck they want. Maffy, Garling, Summers. I think Summers is going to fight with Sanji once we come back, but right now it was just showcasing that he ran in with Rayleigh, and at some point in time he ran in with Scopper Gabon because he knows Scopper, or he may just know all of the Roger pirates. They were very infamous as well. The conversation that Rox has in his mind with Garp and them after they're unconscious, them getting taken back and being unconscious and leaving, I think that's going to weigh on them. But I do think that they think they killed Xebec. So maybe there's some solace there, but also it's a bittersweet victory. Like, we had to take out Xebec, but we at least killed him. No, Garling did. And this goes back. I said if Garling comes in and kills him after all this, it doesn't really speak to his power, but there's years in between here and where we are now where he can get stronger. But this is means for Blackbeard to kill Garling. Because Ace is gone, so he's got revenge there. The only other person is Luffy. Luffy is Ace's brother. They had a showdown, but I do believe that Blackbeard is on Emu's shit. He wanted a country. Why did he want a country? I think he's making plots to rule the world for more control. Does it lead up to the moon? I don't think so. I do think Enel's coming back, but there's just too much here. Blackbeard's fighting Garland. I do know that. I don't want Luffy and Blackbeard to fight together at the end. They might have to for Emu because their goals are vastly different. Whatever Frankie's doing now and Vegapunk will let us know where the Straw Hats are going, also how they handle Elbaph. Blackbeard whooped Law's ass, but he didn't attain Law's devil fruit. We don't have Law, so what was his next move in between now and then? And who's attacking Mary Joa right now? I think it's the Blackbeard Pirates. That's what's causing the calamity. We're still in this fucking flashback. We get back and we'll see some quick battle on Elbaph. Luffy will kind of overcome, and Mary Joa will be too much, and Emu will have to go again because Emu has not got her hands dirty. They'll come in, they'll do a Domi Reversi, flip-flop, and then bounce. And I think with the Domi Reversi with the Giants, Gunku Emu is about to bounce unless Brook can break that curse. These are your full spoilers. Let me know what your theories, your thoughts are, comments, concerns about the series. People are saying that we're in Elbaph. We're not in Elbaph long enough. We're in the flashback too long. We need to get back to Elbaph. Why didn't Rayleigh do more? We see that Rayleigh gets his iconic scarf from God Valley. Why aren't they saying more about, why can't we see Shanks and Shamrock's mom? Why don't we know any more about Eris's backstory? We'll get there. Oda has been paying this shit off. Let's see what the full spoilers say on Sunday. I said I would record at 10 a.m., That's because it drops 10 a.m. Central Standard Time here in Oklahoma. But I do like listening to my Japanese native speakers to get more context between the manga, what's written, and what cannot be translated. So we'll do it in the evening on Sunday. I'll find out a time because it hasn't been consistent. I know that he's doing a lot of work, the main one that I watch. But I do encourage you to watch those YouTubers, content creators as well, if you love One Piece as much as I do, because I love listening to the actual meaning, context, principles, and tenets behind meanings and how katakana and kanji work and how Oda uses that along aligned with puns. So I'm always excited to share that with you. And also, there's been so much in the One Piece community now where people just don't understand why everything's getting so jumbled up. Some people don't watch filler. Some people only watch filler. Some people only watch fights. I'm bringing you full context here just because this is what I love, and I have been reading One Piece since it first dropped in Shonen Jump. If you love it as much as I do, join me every week, Monday, Tuesday, and Sundays. That being said, if brief spoilers and full spoilers are out on those days, what's today? What's today? Exactly. Sometimes they let them out later in the week, but I still cover them whenever I can for you. Thank you guys so much. I'm Elijah 5000. Usually music comes from Rifty Beats, which you can find on Spotify and YouTube. Today we're listening to some Pokemon shit, because Pokemon, I can't get my Game Boys to work. I'm ready to get back in them bushes and the grasses, go in the caves, get in the water, on the cruise ships, battle Team Rocket. But also, I'm ready to find the One Piece, see where all the ancient weapons are, figure out how everything that happened now ties into the Harley, what Emu's going to do next, what Luffy and them are going to do. I am fucking excited. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Comment so I can read through those and talk about them on Sunday. I will put some polls and stuff up now that we are back on YouTube. I will catch you guys on the next one. I've got to get to work. Thank you guys so much. Elijah 5000. I'm out. Peace.